All right, y'all, here we are with the official off-season War 1. I'm taking in Ronin, Cosmic Ghost Rider, and Silver Centurion. I decided to assign myself Path 4 in Section 1 and Path 6 in Section 2, and I am going to take the Power Snack mini-boss. So, decided since I did that gameplay with Ronin that I'd take my rank 5 Ronin in on this Path 4 fight, or Path 4 period, just because it looked like he was going to benefit it. But there were a few things that I forgot to consider. One is that the Fury buff that is gained on this node is an active buff. So originally I thought that if I went in here and didn't parry Mr. Negative, that I'd never have to deal with inverse controls. And you can see based on RNG, because there was an initial Fury buff that first time, and the second Fury buff actually got converted into a light energy, that there was going to be times when his SP1 actually caused inverse controls. So there it is, me eating it in the face. And that was actually during the fight when I realized, oh crap, there's a chance I can deal with inverse controls here. So you see me playing intercept pretty aggressively. I'm not actually focused on parrying. I don't want to give him any additional light energy. And one other thing that I noticed at the end, after I actually took the second fight on this path, is that when Ronin is purifying the debuff when switching to guard stance, it's not giving him a Fury buff, and it's supposed to, according to the node. Which again is another downside, or another thing that I was not expecting. That bonus damage would have been a lot helpful in ending this fight a lot sooner. Especially with how often I could be purifying debuffs on this node. But we're winning the health match. I did eat another SP1 because it was inverse, and I just threw that SP2 just to end the fight. So one nice thing, we can get rid of the heal block at least, so we can heal back a little bit of the damage with willpower. The second mistake I made on this path that I completely forgot about is that the node has increased defensive ability accuracy by 100%. So normally when I play Ronin, I try to stay in Wraith, which is the stun buff, passive orange buff on Ronin, so that it reduces the number of rock stacks I'm giving him per hit. And you're just going to notice that I don't really prevent them unless I place a bleed. So at least Ronin can cause bleed and drop the rock stacks. But really, what I should have game planned for before this fight is staying in Demon most of the fight so that I can increase the chance of bleed to 90% and therefore remove the rock stacks a lot more reliably. You're going to notice in this fight that I stay in Wraith when I'm at 7 crit charges and I have the crit passive. And so during the fight, I just did not realize that I wasn't reducing his ability accuracy. It wasn't until after. So I dropped this big SP3. Unfortunately, I dropped it while the crit passive was about to expire, which isn't good. It means that I'm not going to crit a lot with this Fury buff. So I have to rebuild the passive cruelty buffs to 7. And that's what you're seeing. I am in both fights. I actually intercepted pretty comfortably. I got a good rhythm of when to intercept when I was dashing back and recognizing that the AI was coming in or being aggressive. So, but again, even this thing fight, when I was purifying the debuffs, I wasn't gaining a passive Fury for it. So another bugged situation. So I had 2 fights to kind of pull data from and send a ticket in or send it to those who could report it for us. So ideally, and like I said, Ronin isn't that practical. Ideally, I'd love for that guard stance to shrug 2 or 3 debuffs at a time to make him more useful. All right, so Ronin did his job. We actually came out of that thing fight with a lot of health left. Next was to use this Silver Centurion for this Power Snack Kitty Pryde. So power gain, I did not think was going to be too much of an issue, just because I could kind of time when it was coming. So as long as I didn't push her to SP3, either outranging her SP2 or blocking all of her SP1 and coming in was going to be manageable for the fight, especially if I never stunned her. And of course, I'm never going to crit her with Silver Centurion. He doesn't crit. So, I mean, game plan was to block bait heavies, bait out SB1, retaliate SB1. If we do accidentally push her to SB2, then we bait out SB2, and it's just a strictly no-hit situation. So there it goes. And the first special I was actually going to reach to when I got locked on ready was going to be SB3, so that I could go a little bit crazy after it with some of the power drain. So here we are. Locked on was ready. We threw SB3. And now she's going to drain. And she's going to have a slow, which does not matter for this fight. So now we can be a bit more aggressive. But she had quite a bit of power, and I forgot about backup recovery, so it pushed her to SB3, luckily. The power drain was still going, so we were able to bait out an SB2, so we avoided taking an SB3. But we unfortunately lost the locked on, so we weren't able to hold on to those plasmas and really ramp up the damage by ending combos with mediums and then refresh it with an SP1. So the fight's going a little bit longer than it should. One thing to note is that the shock and the incinerate damage would go up based off modified attacks. So this is an unboosted fight. It would be a lot quicker when we're max boosted, which I usually am when I'm taking mini bosses, and her health / attack bonuses on this node are similar to a mini boss island bonus. So this definitely would have been a max boost scenario. But as you can see, it's pretty safe. Aside from not paying attention to backup recovery, it's a very manageable fight for Silver Centurion, so good option. All right, and then the next fight with Silver Centurion was this Jabari Panther. My game plan was to really just focus on when the cleanse was down from shrugging a stun. But at this point in the night for a Saturday night, I had been drinking. So you can see there, she did not react to a heavy attack right after her shrugging or cleansing that stun. So I know the cleanse is on cooldown. We're reliably parrying. We're ending with light combos. We're outranging her attacks, not really trying to trigger decks too much. We were ready for that cleanse there. So now we can reliably stun again. Got this SB2 off. Now we're going to end with mediums. Her cleanse is back up. Was ready there, but retaliated too slow. Was ready for the next one. So we're ending with mediums. And here I did not realize she was in the hunt. So I got out of range too quick there. And she punished me for it. So we're in kind of the danger zone here. Luckily, with that armor up, Silver Centurion doesn't bleed. And this SB1 is just kind of a end the fight attack. So he could be an option, just got to be a little more alert. Moving on, I have not used Cosmic Ghost Rider in war, so I was kind of itching to use him against this Punisher since I was going to try that Jabari Panther. And I wanted to see it with power back boosts, so I went ahead and slapped on this Cosmic, especially since it was in the loyalty store. But rotation here, parry heavy, Judgment, then parry medium power gain Judgment, which is ending with a light combo, 4-hit light, and then parry medium, end with a medium, which is the it's the buff that prevents miss. I think it's vigilance. And then throw SB2, and then get ready to throw SB2 again. I was gonna power gain here, and then I forgot about Punisher 99's power lock. So I immediately heavied thinking I was gonna SB3 here to up the fury damage, even though it was gonna be unnecessary, and I ended up throwing that into his block. So it's like, all right, that's cool. Let's go ahead and reset the judgments. Let's get the 5th here by throwing SB1. So staying calm, cool, and collected. So here's that SB1 to give him 5 judgments. That'll reset. So now I can go through another rotation. That's why I'm not dexing out. And here, I tried to throw heavy, and it just didn't register. And then I thought I was out of range of his heavy, and he got me. So this SB1's just a, fuck it, let's end it. And down he went. So, not at all the cleanest. And then the last fight here, decided since I got to Void before anyone else that I was going to go ahead and take this with a full health Ronin. So yeah, this is just switching stances, preparing to switch to guard stance when we feel like we need to get rid of a Fury buff. Luckily, I decided to play aggressive and try to intercept most of the fight so that we could get rid of Ebb and Flow intercept and gain that Fury. And this Void had suicides on, so you're going to see recoil. The poison just isn't there because of Mighty Charge and Ebb and Flow intercept shrugging. So there's just a lot. This is where I say Ronin's not that practical in war. Like, this would be considered probably a good matchup for him, but there's just a lot to keep track of. What stance you're in, ebb and flow intercept. Do they have a bar of power? Can I kind of backdraft intercept in the middle of the field? When is his debuff coming so that we can throw out guard stance? Because we can only shrug one at a time. All of that. There's just a lot to pay attention to here, which, again, as I've said, just doesn't make him that practical for war. But it's still a fun fight. I still enjoy using Ronin. It's just the fact that it's since it's not that practical, probably not a safe option when it comes to war. You see here, I threw the SP2 without backing up to get the crit passive, so I didn't get the big yellow numbers from that SP2 like I should, which is very unfortunate. And this fight's taking a little bit longer for most Ronin versus Void fights because the bleeds are getting purified every time he does Mighty Charge. So, but we still it. So it was a fun war. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing this off-season war with some unique attackers for myself. I will do a rewards video when season rewards come out, and I'll talk more about my finish for the season and how I felt about New Nation season. So I will see you guys at the next one. Hit subscribe if you want to see more.